let's get on into this one. Boy, oh boy, we have a Camille locked in for Shikari.
That's a serious start for a serious set of gamers.
That is a very bad start to the draft for Bulldog. Shikari loves to play them carries, and he's got Camille. Jet does have his Graves though, and Fork's going with a Karma early pick.
Yeah, there we go. So Jet's going to get his hands on Graves, which he's had some success with, and Graves obviously considered one of the top-tier junglers right now in this lethality-dominated patch. Sankas looks like he's going to respond with the Ivern, shaping up to be a fairly serious game for serious gentlemen.
Yeah. That is one way to say it. Certainly meta coming through right now. The AD carry bans are going to mean that Ashe goes the way of XNX. We've seen XNX play a lot of Ashe. We saw in one of the earlier weeks of the season him going for multiple cross-map snipes with his Ashe arrows, so wanting to see more of that coming out from him here. Poppy going to be the final lock, and we're not seeing that much Poppy, but it is decent into the Camille.
Yeah, I mean, especially early on, absolutely fine in that particular matchup. And Ashe coming through, it's the only, realistically, the top 3 marksmen of the Ashe, the Jin, the Varus, those are the trifecta right now, so it's the last remaining one of the lot. And actually now Bulldog looking to target the mid lane pool with the Katarina ban coming out from them. I would imagine maybe XNX look to target the AD carry pool at this point in time.
Well, you're not wrong. Caitlyn going to be taken away there, as Vrau's favourite pick was banned by Bulldog. But Vrau isn't in this series. And we actually have seen Backlund play it, haven't we? I think once or twice. We've seen him on Katarina, we've seen him on Orianna, and Corki, I believe. Syndra going to be taken away as well. Maybe seen him on Syndra as well.
So you imagine that maybe Bulldog want to prick up the Corki for BradTech, you would imagine, given that it probably stands out as the best pick in the mid lane, given the bans that we've had. I think XNX now probably look to ban the Ezreal, maybe. Maybe look to ban the Sivir. Yeah, one of the two. I mean, it leaves Sivir open for Fact should he want it, and I think she's still perfectly acceptable in this particular situation.
Especially into Ashe as well.
Yeah, and with the Karma, really good shove.
Yeah, you can shove the lane really hard, and you can also spell shield against things like Crystalline Arrow, which is super influential in the game. And it looks like the Sivir will be the lock-in. Yes, mate, we did it.
Thanks, bud.
Good bit of knowledge.
Leaving the last pick over to BradTech for a potential counter pick in the mid lane. Although, if you pick up Corki for XNX, then you're not really going to be putting too much pressure. There isn't much left in that mid lane, barring maybe a Zed for BradTech that could look to put a lot of pressure on the Corki.
I've just noticed that Synergy is subbing in instead of Archie.
Yes, so Synergy... How much League of Legends has Synergy played recently?
I don't know, but Archie has... I've got to say, Archie's been a decent player for the side of Bulldog. We've seen quite a few good plays out of Archie. So, Synergy stepping in. And, you know, Synergy and Jet go way back. They were on a team together, Null Titans, a long time ago.
Synergy obviously captain.
And that was when Synergy first moved over to the support role as well.
Yeah, and Synergy was obviously captain of the University of Birmingham Storm, I think, at one point. Probably the best university team in the country throughout 2015. So... I mean, they had a lot of success with that team. So Synergy now stepping into Bulldog Esports role, going to be playing for them in that support role. Like you said, I think he moved from the jungle to support. That was the main switch that he made.
Yeah, and we're going to see the Rise locked in for Backlund. Synergy hovering the Talon. I don't know whether that one will be locked in. It's like Talia is going to be the pick in the end. So... fairly meta compositions here. The Lulu support coming through for Prosper. It's been kind of edge of the meta, but we're seeing it more and more. And this was actually the champion he was playing earlier on when he was being coached by Last Shadow. So, he's obviously learned a little bit more about Lulu's matchups, about how to play Lulu, and wants to show that off here on stream.
Lulu's becoming more and more relevant and more meta because she has good wave shove with the Glitter Lance. Shielding is great for protecting these basic attack featured AD carries like the Ashe and the Sivir. And obviously your ultimate really good against high burst champions, especially coming from that Graves too. So yeah, I think Lulu is definitely creeping in. She used to be considered just a Malzahar counter, but now a lot of people are actually just picking up on her outright in that support role. And I always like Lulu. I think she's a pretty cool design for a champion. So I'm glad to see she's creeping back in somewhat, especially
so long as she doesn't have high AP ratios.
Yes, but again, it works incredibly well with the Ivan. We just saw Eminem play an almost exact copy of this composition, to be completely honest. Just replace the Sivir for the Ashe, and mid lane I think was the Syndra instead of the Ryze. But it works in exactly the same way. It's a team fight dominated composition. Instead of using the Sivir ultimate to engage, you're using the Ashe ultimate to engage. But again, I think Bulldog have brought something slightly more tenable to the field than the XL squad than they brought to their first game against M&M. So this is more of two brawly-based compositions, two compositions that have their own respective advantages in a teamfight situation. Yep. So it looks a little bit more even in terms of draft.
And also in that top lane as well, we should have... in fact, we've got a fan vote going on here. 71% in favor of XNX, 29% for Bulldog. We were both voting for XNX as well. Looks like the odds are stacked up against Bulldog here. XNX have had a fantastic season, and Bulldog are going to be looking to prove themselves here. If they could round out their season by beating the favourites for the final, then they'd be... I think they could walk home happily with that.
Well, they're within 1 point touching distance of XL if they take this 2-0, so... You know, you're at 9 points then. I think XL currently sat on 10. That's not a bad finish for Bulldog to say that we came within 1 point of XL Esports, who have been considered a fairly big titan of the UK scene.
Who were that close to going to the finals.
Exactly. So it'll be a great result for Bulldog to come out the top of this. And if there was one team that has surprised me this season, it's Bulldog. I didn't really give them much of a chance to be where they are right now in the current standings. And they have surprised me, you know, given I kind of wrote them off towards the early end of the season. And things, you know, the teams like Cyclone, they came out and surprised me at the start and then have disappointed me with this as the season has progressed because they haven't quite found the same level of results. So Bulldog, if they're going to upset, I think they are the team to do it.
Well, now is their opportunity. XNX up against Bulldog as we head onto the Rift. On the blue side, we have XNX, Shikari, Sankers, Backlund, Inax, and Prosfair. And over on our red side, it's going to be Bulldog Gaming, Forks, Jet, Bradtech, Vax, and Synergy. Sankers very aggressively pushing and actually lands the root onto Jet. It's only going to be that, though, just a tiny bit of damage.
Maybe looking for aggressive vision to get sort of, I guess, a read on where Graves is potentially starting. And you are going to see Karma here return.
Actually, oh my goodness, another root, and that's Bradtech's flash burnt. Great route so far from Sankers, making his mark on the game before a minute has passed.
Yeah, Bradtech already forced a flash. It's not going to be good for him in that mid lane, especially going up against the Rune Prison of the Ryze. And it looks like Sankers is actually going to start at his red buff. Karma has warded this up, however, so Karma will have a read on where Sankers is. And Sankers, I think, was maybe trying to get an indication as to where Jet was starting because he wants to be able to maybe do what Candy Floss did and be aggressive in terms of taking the enemy buff away.
Well, it's going to start, or both junglers, in fact, going to be starting on their Raptors. And we'll see what the jungle routes are going to look like beyond that. Sankers going to be grabbing himself a red buff as he heads up towards his own blue buff. So not going immediately for the invade.
No, the ward has spotted him out as well, and he doesn't look like he's confident enough to move into that blue side jungle. Graves hasn't actually turned up on the ward for XNX as they put a very early ward down, so with him starting at the Razorbeaks, he's very confident of just then walking up to that red buff, and he hasn't actually been spotted out. So he might actually head towards the blue buff of Sankers, you don't know, but it looks like he's actually going to go for a read and go for his own. Or is he? No, I lie. I think Jet has just assumed that Sankers has gone for his blue buff.
Which means maybe Sankers gets an opportunity here to steal something away. Come back and get those camps that he set up earlier. Jet realizes that he isn't going to have that opportunity to trade buffs right now. And the race is on to get to the blue buff of the Bulldog side.
And it looks like Sankers has made a really good read at this point in time because he is now heading up towards that blue buff. As is Jet, however. Again, like you said, it is a little bit of a race and it looks like Sankers is going to be the winner.
Yeah, he's got his smite available now, so we'll pick that one up. And it's an immediate 3 buff in favor of Sankers. Great play coming out on this either.
He's actually going to, I think he just used a Friend of the Forest on the Gromp, potentially. Not sure I would have done that because I don't know how likely it is I'm going to be revisiting that Gromp.
Yeah, I mean, trying to take an opportunity, but I don't think
without
that's one he'll find.
without Smite, it seemed like a risky opportunity to try and go for. I don't think that I would have been revisiting that Gromp to reactivate it anytime soon. So that was a risky play. Kind of just sacrificed health for not much reason, to be honest.
Yeah, does have that red buff though, so and he's got the health regen from his starting item.
Sure.
He's feeling all right about the situation. Trades back and forth up in the top lane, but it's been a very quiet start to the game. Just that jungle advantage coming out from Sankers, starting things off right for his team. In the meantime, Jet heading down towards this bottom side of the map.
I think Jet's just looking for something, given how much Sankers has kind of taken away from him in this early game. He's going to face check the Rise, however, in that mid lane.
Yeah, Backland taking a good chunk of damage, but Jet's out of mana, so can't really keep things rolling. And now everyone retreats back to their own halves of the map. Backland very low on HP. Bradtech doesn't have that flash available. Trigger Seed going to come on through. Sankers comes towards this mid lane to try and help shove this one through. Yeah,
they're just going to shove it in, and then Backland is going to be able to back off pretty much scot-free. Jet now, maybe looking for a gank here. He's only level 3, however, going to get spotted out by a ward. He's been bloodthirsty in this top lane.
Shikari flashing out of that one immediately. Jet, once again, doesn't quite find an opportunity, but he at least forces a summoner.
And now Ivan coming up here. They're looking to flank. Sankers and Shikari, they are searching for blood. Jet very low on mana as well. This could be devastation for Bulldog.
Sankers has been great so far this game. They are going to focus on to Jet. It was a bit of split focus. Jet flashing away one more auto. They can't quite get it. First blood goes to Sankers. Oh, Sankers, bit of BM as well.
I know. That is a guy full of confidence here. Going to stop Forks from backing as well. And Sankers had a great start here. 3-buffed his opposition, got a complete control, really starved Jet out of the early farm. Testament to how good Sankers has been for XNX in this ESL Premiership.
Yeah, and I mean, this entire season has really been about junglers across the board, and Sankers just saying, kind of calling Jet out there and saying, look, I have dominated you in this early game. What are you going to do about it?
And everybody from XNX seems to have the advantage. Bot lane, they had a small advantage in CS. Had a bit of a shove advantage. Backland already showing his stuff against Bradtech in this mid lane. It's good for XNX. All signs point to a win. Solid analysis.
10 CS lead in the mid lane, though, is significant for Backland. Bradtech has his flash available once again, so we'll be slightly safer if Sankers does try and come into that lane once again.
Forks actually taking the advantage versus Shikari in the top lane. Actually, I felt like a lot of the trades in the early game, Forks seemed to be getting the upper hand. You know, Poppy has that steadfast presence, can stop that wall grapple and the stun resulting from it as well, so. Sankers still counter-jungling, by the way. Still finding a lot of sort of counter-jungling presence against this Graves, starving him from farm. And it may look like Graves is out farming, but remember, you lose a lot of the CS, especially on the Krugs, as the Ivern, because you don't get to take out the individual monsters.
Yeah, so, excuse me. The numbers are deceptive on that Ivern. But it's been a quiet start to the game. Generally speaking, everybody just looking to farm up. But in the bottom and the mid lane, we've got some decent CS numbers coming through. Both Backland and XNX starting things off right. And now that Daisy is on the board, the Infernal Drake will be started up. Sanko is happy to take that objective away. Will be traded back by Jet. But it is just going to be an advantage once again for XNX.
They're going to get the Drake as well here. Infernal Drake, great first one to pick off the board. Looks like Jet is trying to put some pressure on the blue side jungle. Got some deep wards down as well. Trying to get some of his own counter-jungling done. And actually, Sankers does cash in on his friend of the forest on the Gromp this time round. Living in that blue side jungle of Jet at this point in time. And the blue buff will be respawning fairly soon as well. If Sankers saves his smite, potentially he can set up on that blue buff and then take that, set up on that red buff and take that blue buff with ease. Looks like he's not even going to set up. Maybe just going to go straight for this blue buff steal, which he will. He'll get it. He's got the smite.
So trading those buffs once again, and one of his laners will be able to go and grab that blue buff as well. Backland can go for that one if he so wishes. Whereas on the other side, Jet had to take that one away for his team. So, not a perfect situation, but not the end of the world. Bradtech will be doing okay since he's got that lost chapter and a double Doran's ring. mana shouldn't be too much of an issue for him.
No, he should be absolutely fine. Sankas has set that red buff up now, just been clearing as much of the jungle as possible. And looking to come back at impact when he can. Looks like it's Jet moving up towards this top lane, and I gotta say, Shikari has been having a tough time versus Forks here.
Certainly has. We'll do a good amount of damage on the retrade there, but Shikari's very low. And oh, well, there's Jet. He's arrived. Collateral damage comes through. Quite comfortably finishes off the kill, and now they go onto the tower.
That's a good start now for Bulldog. They're going to potentially get this first turret of the game. Graves is a monster at turret taking. Hasn't actually got any offensive damage though. Cross-map arrow coming through here.
Doesn't quite connect though. Forks will have to back away right now. Backlund has arrived. All Backlund's going to be able to do is clear away these minions. And actually lock Forks up underneath the tower. He takes 2 shots here. Backlund, does he have the damage? Shield comes on through. Backlund dodging away from the ultimate now onto Jet, but there's minions blocking the way. Prosper gets the snare down, and it will be taken in the end. Backlund grabbing that one. Forks has walked away on a minuscule amount of HP.
Radtech not quite able to respond as quickly. Now Sankas isn't done yet. Sankas, oh, the flash!
Why did he flash for that?
I think he wanted to flash the heroic charge.
Yeah, didn't quite work out though, and now Radtech just going to be hitting away at Daisy as Sankas hides behind his big old buddy.
Sankas does smite, get some HP back here. Maybe looking to join with Daisy and try and secure this turret. As Backlund and Prosper force Radtech away here. Teleport comes through from Forks, he should be able to defend.
Daisy will go down and Forks will be here to clean up some of this CS. And it means that the tower will survive for both sides in its top lane, so nobody getting that lead in terms of towers. It's just the one Infernal Drake for the side of XNX. So little advantages, but it's a 1,000 gold lead as well.
XNX farming the bot lane. Actually been even, and the bot lane has been thoroughly uneventful throughout this game. Thoroughly uneventful, and just lanes shoving each other back and forth. Brosfed did make that roam to engage in the top lane and find a kill, but otherwise it's been a fairly evenly paced game early on here.
Yeah, not a great deal of action to talk about, but every time there has been action, it's XNX that are pulling out the advantages. There was just that situation where Shikari didn't really get the best of that trade early on. Forks will be locked up in the Hextech Ultimatum. Sankas is here as well. I don't think there's any way out for this little Yordle. It's Sankas grabbing himself his second kill of the game.
Forks made the trade a lot harder for himself, so I'm pretty sure he charged a minion, and Shikari then just got him on the flank there. They locked him into the ultimate, and Sankas, nice roam to the top lane. Now, with that teleport down, going to do their best to try and secure the first turret of the game. Looks like Bradtech is roaming up, however, trying to solo defend this one. We'll be able to clear waves quite easily with that threaded volley. And now he is going to be the one trying to desperately hold on to this top lane tier 1. And I don't think XNX have what it takes to take it just yet. Both these teams trying to grasp on to their first turret of the game with absolute...
Oh, Jet actually is in trouble here, as it is going to be Backlund forcing the fight. Jet has to flash away. And a 1v1 for Backlund, certainly a confident situation. And in the meantime, it's going to be Sankas and Shikari trying to finish off this tower. Daisy will be soaking up a lot of those shots, but here comes Fork and Bradtech. They want to finish off these kills. Shikari very low and will be finished off in the end by Bradtech. Sankas trying to get away with his life, but heroic charge will come up any second now. It's not even needed. Forks finishes off the kill with a hammer smash.
Bradtech, miles behind in CS, but really good roam. A lot of damage coming out from him now as well. Actually, it's going to be a race for the first turret of the game. It might even be XNX that pick it up here, and it is. They get their first tier 1 in the bot lane. Very quickly
only
responded.
Just.
Yeah, only just, though. Like, literally milliseconds between the two teams.
Yeah. In the bottom lane, we've got a kill coming out from Backlund. Flash forced from Fax as well, and XNX. They aren't done just yet. They want as much as they can possibly take. 30 seconds until that next Drake will spawn on the map. Depending which one it's going to be, will depend how much people want to actually focus on that objective. Mountain. You would expect that to be a heavy focus.
Forks is going to steal away the blue buff here after that really good top lane turnaround for Bulldog. And again, things remain moderately even. The first turret gives the slight edge to XNX, but realistically everything remaining pretty even between the two teams. It's a good start of Bulldog. They definitely not give up.
So, CS lead in the mid lane, now up to 30. Backlund has 2 kills under his belt as well. Curious about what that gold lead is looking like in the mid lane, because it's a 1 and a bit thousand gold lead for the team in general. 700 of that lead is just in Backlund's back pocket himself. That's basically paid for the tier that he got this game. So he's feeling pretty happy as the Dragon looks to be taken away here as well by XNX. That's the second one for them. That is going to be the Mountain Drake locked on up.
Rotation is starting to come out now for XNX. Now they got that top lane, that bot lane tier 1. With the Rise, it's very easy to move into a 1-3-1, especially with the Camille. And I think that's kind of where XNX want to end up. The outranging of Talia on this Rise, though, makes it very difficult for Backlund to search for the all-in, and you can see, actually forces a redemption out as well.
Yeah, but BradTech does not have the advantage in this situation. Minions are actually going to be nearly finishing him off as the Realm Walk is just going to be forcing BradTech back into a bad situation, doing a good amount of damage, but it's not enough in the end. Backlund is too far ahead.
A little bit of over-aggression, you'd have to say, from BradTech, though, because he definitely has the range advantage over Rise, which is kind of what a lot of people picked up Talia for. Kind of to go into the Rise, you could out-trade him from a distance, he could never really get close enough to you. But unfortunately, BradTech did the gap closing for the Rise. You know, he made Backlund, kind of made it easier for Backlund to get on top of him and deal that kind of damage that we know Rise can do. Nod. Nod, nod, nod.
Very slow game coming out from these two teams, but Jet has come up towards this top lane. Shikari can't defend this tower on his own with both members there. Sanka's trying to trade that pressure back down on the other side of the map, but it's Bulldog that's taking advantage here, and with BradTech arriving on that bottom side, that tier 2 will survive. And actually, Bulldog, they get away with that one. It's a trade. Well, it's not even a trade. They just take an objective.
The wave shove really good from Bulldog, and they got great wave clear as well. Sanka's now trying to go into Synergy. Here comes Talia, though.
Beautiful arrow coming out onto Synergy, but it's not enough. In fact, actually going to use on the hunt here to try and force the engage. XNX taking a huge amount of damage. Is a nice knockup from Forks, but the rest of his team couldn't quite follow up. Teleport now being channeled by Shikari. He's not going to find an opportunity to engage.
You've got to say, Bulldog look really good in these teamfight situations. The range of BradTech making it very hard for XNX to find the engage. It was a great separating ultimate from the Talia as well, meaning that they could isolate Sankas, forcing him to have to flash out of that situation. Got to be impressed with the way the Bulldog have approached this series, you have to say.
Yeah, they're doing a good job so far, keeping basically even in this game. Still 1,000 gold down, but it's been that way for quite some time. Biggest advantage that's been picked up by XNX is those 2 dragons. Fortunately for them, it is a mountain and an infernal. If you're going to get 2 dragons, those are certainly the ones that you want to be getting. Although, double infernal's always nice.
Double infernals. I mean, actually, we had this discussion, didn't we? I believe last week, where everyone was talking about, you know, the value of the other drakes that we don't often talk about. I think everyone came to the consensus that Cloud Drake isn't great, only in certain situations. But people often talk about Ocean Drake and how valuable that can actually be throughout the proceeds of the game, especially with these siege compositions coming in. You know, where you try and keep your range, you use the Varus, you use the Corki, and then you can, you know, get out of combat for 7 seconds and reset and get regeneration. People are often talking about how sometimes Ocean Drake is undervalued, but definitely at face value, Mountain and Infernal Drake are definitely the ones to have, and those are under the belt of XNX right now.
But the question is, what does XNX do with those Drakes? Are they going to set up some sieges? Are they going to push for more towers? What is the next step for XNX to turn this lead into something more?
I think they can continue the 1-3-1 as long as they want. Eventually, they're going to get to the point where they are stronger in the side lanes, and then they'll be able to mount pressure in that way. As long as they're just clearing waves in that mid lane and trying to siege with the Ashe and Lulu where possible, they'll 1-3-1 all day. Eventually, Camille will be able to outtrade most opposition, and as will Rise. So I think they're very comfortable to just leave it as it is, continue the 1-3-1, disengage where possible.
I love the difference in playstyle between Shikari in this game on the Camille and the Camille we saw from Tempo earlier on today. He went for the Tiamat first to get that wave clear. Shikari going straight for that Trinity Force. Wants to be able to fight Inax. Is going to be locked into a fight here. Redemption healing him up, but it's not going to keep him alive. Fax Not quite the one to get that as Backlund flashes in to trade the kill. Now Jet trying to escape with his own life, but look at the damage coming out from this Rise. One more auto finishes it off. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Bulldog.
Yeah, and actually they're not done yet. BradTech still has that range. He's looking to go in.
Yeah, he's gone way too deep for this one though, and he's thrown away the advantage they gained.
Small advantages chipped away here. And actually now Shikari trying to go toe-to-toe with Forks.
This is where that Trinity Force comes into play. It's a much better dueling item. Going back and forth between these two players. Shikari locks him up because Backlund is here to join the fray. Rune Prism will be enough to lock him up, and one more overload does the damage.
And now this should result in a top lane tier 1. So all in all, actually net favor XNX. That was a fight that could have very easily been left by Bulldog, but BradTech chose to try and utilize the fact that he had a high HP amount left. He thought he could duel against that Rise with the range, but unfortunately got locked up, went down very quickly. And the advantages gained by Bulldog have kind of been swept away at this point in time.
Yeah, I believe he got exhausted as well by Crossfair, so very difficult to have a huge impact at that point. Was punished for his over-aggression. But this game, as with a lot of games that we've seen from XNX, has been all about Backlund. 4-0-2 on that Rise. He is running away with this match. He's already finished his Rod of Ages and the Morellonomicon. Now he's grabbed himself a needlessly large rod on top of everything else. He is feeling very strong.
And it kind of highlights the player that we sort of give a lot of XNX's credit or their success to. Backlund, this new addition in the mid lane. It used to be BradTech. BradTech used to be the guy that was on this lineup for XNX when they were known as Perilous Void or Perilous Rift.
Void.
And they were C9 Brad was their mid laner. And now he's on the other side of the page. Backlund is the guy who's come in for this team. And he has been that dominant force. He has kind of been credited with a lot of XNX's success because he has just mechanically outplayed most of his opposition. I'm really looking forward to Larson versus Backlund. I think that is going to be an insane matchup to keep our eye on in the final. Yeah, and also I'm looking forward to a longer series between some of these teams. Because the best of 2 format, or the 2-game format, I suppose, technically not best of, because if it's a tie, nobody gets the best of the opponent. It is in fact just a double round robin. But that format doesn't always give you a winner, so curious to see in one of these longer series how XNX will do. But now starting the siege onto this mid lane, that red buff taking away Fork, starting the fight though. There goes a nice Weaver's Wall, locking people out, and it's Backlund gets knocked to safety by Forks. Not sure I agree with that ultimate. Flashes actually in onto this one. Will get locked up in the Hextech ultimatum, and he will be finished off in the end. Redemption topping up the members on XNX's Jet will be polymorph. Gets 2 down. First though, it's a 2-for-2. This fight goes on as Backlund tries to push forward, but it's a 2-for-2 all things considered. And there's a good wave clear coming out from Talaya, so they shouldn't be able to capitalize and take this turret easily, although Inax has something to say about that. One more. Does manage to get the tower in the end. There's no significant punishment coming out from Bulldog. Inax now with a big wave in the bot lane rotating down there to potentially even capitalize with 2 turrets off the back of that team fight. And this is something that we've always credited. It's already low. Yeah, it's already low. A lot of work done by Sankus before that team fight broke out a couple of minutes ago. And this is something that we credited XNX for. Like, even off the back of messy team fights, they were always the team that got something from it. They were always the team that capitalized. They were always the team that somehow got a global objective off the back of some of their success. So this is kind of how they always push that global gold advantage. And it's been messy. I mean, they have been dragged down in the dirt by Bulldog this time round, but they have always somehow netted some sort of advantage. And I mean, I already mentioned it in this game. A huge amount of that has been pivoting around Backlund. 4-0-4 right now. Like 3 CS away from Flame Horizoning BradTech. We're just 22 minutes into this game. This is a stonkingly huge lead that that Backlund has managed to gain for himself. It's going to be very difficult for the likes of Bulldog to actually pull themselves back at this stage. Yeah, and you're getting to the point in time where Sankus has got so many tools to keep his team safe in a team fight. I mean, you've got level 5 Trigger Seed, you've got Athene's Unholy Grail finished up already. He's probably working towards a Locket of the Iron Solari as well. Got plenty of stuff. Oh, the ultimate popped by Fax here.
Here we go. It's going to be Jet going onto the backline. XNX very low on this one, kept alive by the redemption, and actually dishing a lot of damage out. Will go down in the end, but Shikari got a solo kill onto Forks. Once again, a 1-for-1. These fights are very close.
Had the rest of XNX actually been... Oh, Shikari, a little bit too much there, but incoming Backland.
Yeah, just dives onto the backline. Look at the damage onto BradTech. So nearly gets the kill. And so many shields coming out onto him from Sankas.
Look how long XNX survived in that last team fight. Had the rest of XNX been there, that would have been surely an instantaneous cleanup for them. And Bulldog, I mean, they were trying... Look at the damage. I mean, Bulldog was struggling to come out on top versus Justin Ash 1 versus 3 with the Trigger Seed and the Lulu shield coming through. And XNX still come out on top despite, you know, trading even in the team fight. They still get the advantage. They still get the tower. This is just classic XNX. And
this is very difficult at this stage to deal with these team fights for the side of Bulldog, because I feel like a broken record right now, but Backland, sorry, can do whatever he wants. With the support coming out from Sankas and Prosper, he's nigh on invincible. The shield's coming out. Athene's Unholy Grail already on Sankas, increasing the amount that Trigger Seed is going to do. Backland already gets his own shields. He's already finished his Archangels as well. This guy's going to be nigh on impossible to deal with.
Backland is the linchpin for this team. And I think we've kind of talked about it. We've kind of credited a lot of XNX's success to him, and he's been a massive input. Jet now locked up. He's dead.
Yeah, Jet will go down there. Shikari once more. Synergy forced to flash. And now the Baron will be pinged on out, and the whole team will leap over the wall. And that's another nice little bonus that Ivan will bring. A lot of members can just jump over walls because of it. And a very quick Baron going the way of XNX at just 25.5 minutes.
It doesn't feel like there's been a dominating, deciding moment here for XNX, but they have generated a lead through huge CS advantages, especially in that mid lane, grinding through these global objectives, you know, off the back of team fights. And while the kill score looks even, it's always been XNX that have been in control. Superior wave control, the 1-3-1 set up nicely to set up the remainder of the teams after a team fight to just move around and try and take the objectives off the back of it. It's been very, very good here for XNX.
And you've got to bring up the point of what the previous best teams in the Premiership have looked like, because this isn't necessarily the same.
It's not at all.
What we've seen in the past is like win lane, win game. Yeah. Just dominate in the laning phase and just keep on pushing in those lane setups. Like, look at the Banditos, look at all of our previous winners. They've just been dominant mechanically. This is not a similar squad. These guys, they win on their macro. They win on out-trading their opponents in every scenario when it comes to those objectives.
Apart from Backland, none of the XNX lineup realistically win lane as hard as we saw previous ESL Premiership winners do. But like you said, their macro play is better than everybody else's. Now Backland is the target.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of damage and will be able to just about 1v3 at this point. Flashes over the wall. He's going back in onto Forks though, has popped his ghost, so will have a lot of movement speed. Look at this damage, he's not stopping at any cost right now. And in the meantime, his team is pushing on towards this mid lane. Daisy happy to soak up that tower so XNX can get a couple of more shots on in. And in the meantime, Shikari is just shoving away. There are too many threats to deal with for Bulldog.
And now they're going to go to the opposite side of the map. They've got that Baron buff. It's going to be another inhibitor turret going down here. BradTech trying with the threaded volley to stop them from advancing, but you cannot stop the pain train of Backland. And they're going to take an inhibitor.
Here we go, the forced engage. Forks goes on in, but Wild Growth onto Backland. Look how tanky this rises. It's unreal. Fact's going to be locked up in the backline, and Shikari is there and dishing out the damage. It's 1-for-1 so far, but Backland still full HP, still dishing out huge chunks on that front line. It's a double kill for him in that fight, and the Baron minions continue to push. We actually do see Shikari head back to base, but he's got his teleport available.
Look at that damage!
The second he leaves his fountain, immediately sent back.
Backland just destroying people. He's also got the Ninja Tabai as well. Felt that he could just go for that despite, you know, other options available. The Ninja Tabai he felt were more appropriate given the Graves and the Civet.
Other brands of sneakers are available. But the Ninja Tabai are going to be his choice of style. Jet going to be forced back onto that fountain as well. And this is going to be all she wrote in this first game. XNX happy to shove this one forward. BradTech managing just about to get himself to safety. Shikari will not die in this one. Keeps getting himself back away. And every single time Backland lands an overload, somebody has to go back onto the fountain. It is ridiculous. Nexus towers have just about gone down, but the game isn't quite over just yet.
Bulldog, as if their namesake were any more true, fighting for their lives here in the face of absolute desperation.
They ain't done just yet. That's going to be Synergy dropping, and his team not showing much synergy as they hang him out to dry. Now the supers push on in. It's triple or double supers in every lane. Double kill comes through for XNX the Gods. And there's another one for Backland to boot. Fax goes down for the triple. And that is going to be the first game in this series convincingly going the way of XNX.
It's almost like you reach the 20-minute mark for XNX, and suddenly things turn on their heads. Suddenly they just completely rip raw through the competition. Sankas dominated the early game, completely shut Jet out of the jungle, and then it was all about the Backland show. He was a monster in that mid lane, really, really was. Single-handedly dealing out the damage that was lethal to so many members. Kind of just carried his team to victory. But we have to say, Sankas kind of set up the early game really well.
Sankas was the one that set him up for that success, but also, like, across the board, it's not like there was a single member that was detrimental to the settings lineup. Like, everybody was a huge impact, and the pressure elsewhere on the map from some of these XNX members meant that Backland could be as aggressive as he was.
I've got to be honest.